Ladies and gentlemen, last week's Eastern Conference Player of the Week is none other than Scott Wayne Barnes Jr. Beam me up, Scotty. Barnes and Noble, Scotty Too Hottie, the Winter Soldier, Scotty Bank. Unfortunately, Mr. Barnes didn't get the new paradigm shift wave of nicknames, and he remains very vanilla for what he's been given. Nicknames aside, Scotty's encore production has been more like a caramel macchiato with a dusting of Dutch chocolate, a cornucopia of deliciousness for the eyes, and I'm here to shed some light on just how amazing the 2022 Rookie of the Year has been in the Big 25. We are in year 4 of the Scottie Barnes experiment, and he's putting up averages of 20 points, 6.5 assists, 8 boards, and nearly 2.5 stocks a game. While his mid-range game, general rim finishing, and touch around the basket have greatly improved, and visually he looks much more comfortable with the ball in his hands, it's the early stages of the season that really dragged down Scotty's three-point percentages. He was taking nearly 7 a game at one point, and while it's come down to earth to 5 attempts, it's still a woeful 28% on the season. Now, to his credit, Toronto has been the epitome of fragile. They've been made of glass. They've had every single rotation player, two-way players, and rookies included miss time due to injury or illness, and sometimes both. The injury bug has bitten the NBA heavy this season, and while we could spend hours talking about why, we'll save that for a later video. Instead, I want to specifically talk about Scotty's offensive jumps and how his defense hasn't taken a backseat, it's just gone slightly under the radar. For starters, we need to look at how Scotty's passing and playmaking have taken a leap and have become a much more stable part of his game. According to B-Ball Index, among all wings and forwards, Scotty's assists per 75 possessions ranks 3rd behind Draymond Green and LeBron James. He sits among the same quality of assists and potential assists created by the likes of Jalen Brunson, Damian Lillard, and Darius Garland, to name a few. Scotty has always had a keen sense of pacing and awareness to either spray cross-court passes, push up-tempo in transition, or kickouts once his back is to the basket, but his recent elevation to legitimate playmaking is what's most impressive to me. I had some faith in Scotty as a primary ball handler, and although that faith has wavered slightly, I have no doubt now that he's a capable tertiary ball handler, a fantastic transition playmaker, and one of the best at stretching the defenses thin with his combination of passing and physical traits. The golden child of the Scottie Barnes implementation is undoubtedly his defense. Hell, it's half of his calling card. In case I'm not beating the dead horse long enough, allow me to continue to cite B-Ball Index. Shout out to Scotty for being number 1 in defensive positional versatility, a stat that tracks how often a player of one position switches between the opposing team's depth chart. Oh boy, does Scotty get active. He's foundationally strong enough to guard and bother most centers, he's positionally savvy enough to contain most wings, and his length and sense of rhythm and athleticism allows him to trap most guards and erase any kind of advantage quicker players can create. Equally impressive is Scotty's matchup difficulty, which as of January 30th, he ranked 6th out of all starters in the NBA. It's one of those defensive instincts that few players can combine with his frame and strength. It allows him to gamble and apply more pressure on teams while also shouldering a substantial load on offense. Speaking of offense, Scotty's 2-point percentage and touch around the basket is where majority of his offense comes from. Shots that come right at the rim, Scotty is hitting on 70% on all of his attempts. From 8 to 16 feet, he's hitting on 52% of all of his takes, and I think most keenly, he's hitting 40% of all of his mid-range jumper attempts. He's been more fluid, he seems more comfortable getting to his spots, and he's gotten a lot more vocal as a leader, something that really helps tie the offense all together into a complete package. Jack of all trades, but master of none, Scotty needs either a volume shot creator next to him in the next few years, or to deepen the bag and expand the wiggle if he's going to be the primary option for Toronto going forward. The bag is shallow, and the handle could use some sharpening. But Scotty's contributions all up and down the floor make him the perfect piece to build around with like-minded facilitators, but better shot creators. This Raptor squad is sneakily doing a morally upstanding tank, the ethical tank if you would, and if they add a piece a la Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey, or trade for someone rumored like Brandon Ingram, then the tertiary creation will fulfill itself, and Scotty can continue to be a Swiss Army knife defender who wreaks havoc all up and down the hardwood.